Well, fun time of year, one of the most fun events of the spring coming up at Montana State. The annual Spring Rodeo begins this year on April 9th. We're joined now by the head coach of the Montana State Rodeo program, Kyle Whitaker. Kyle, thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. First of all, you got to tell us about just sort of this time of year for your team. You had a bunch of stuff in the fall, and now you sort of get started again. And this is always one of the most fun events on campus at Montana State, especially in April. So just take us through sort of where your team is at, how you thought they did in the fall, and then sort of what this spring new chapter means for you guys.
Yeah, well, the college rodeo season is unique because we get here to campus and we go really hard in the month of September, and then we basically have 6 months off. So, we're fortunate here in Montana State. We have our own practice facility with an outdoor and an indoor arena. So we've been working hard. This is the first year we've had our buck and shoots in the indoor practice facility, so we can do all of our events all winter long. Um, I think our kids are looking pretty sharp. It's a really busy, this is a busy 2 or 3 weeks here, getting ready for the rodeo, putting on the rodeo next week. It's a lot of responsibilities. We try to talk to the kids all year long about having themselves ready to be here at the Brick. We got, over 4,000 people here a night here that are cheering for them, and it's a fun environment. We want to give them our best performance.
When you are training all winter long, and then they are going out and performing in front of, like you said, 4,000 plus people, what's that transition like? Like, how do you get them mentally ready to sort of be ready to be in the spotlight?
Yeah, so I tell them, I say every night spend 5 minutes watching videos of somebody you want to compete like, and watch some videos of yourself so you can kind of compare where you're at. But it's a lot, people don't realize how mental rodeo is. You have to block out the environment. You have to, we want to use the crowd to our advantage, but you can't be thinking about the crowd and how much you're gonna show off in front of your buddies or whatever. You have to go out there and do what we've been practicing all year. So it's a combination of visualization, being prepared ahead of time, and just being focused.
Have you seen any big strides during this sort of mid-season, off-season since the last time you guys competed? Anybody that made big strides during the winter training?
I don't know if I'd I can't single. I kept trying to say single anybody out, but there's been a lot of them, that have just stepped it up and made constant improvement. And that's one thing, where we're practicing every day. Sometimes you don't see the improvement as much as if you would have seen somebody in November and then you come back and see them right now. It's easy to see the progress. I see them every day, so I see little progress. But ultimately, they have to perform when the lights are on them here at the field house.
Well, certainly the lights will be shining bright. Again, the Montana State Spring Rodeo coming up starting on April 9th. We'll have some more promotional information about that for you here. Kyle Whitaker, the head coach of Montana State Rodeo, joining us. Having the indoor stuff during the winter, how big of an advantage do you think that is for you guys?
No, I think it's a huge advantage. This winter the weather's been pretty nice,
Right.
but even like yesterday, we had to go inside because it was raining. And before we didn't have our own indoor rough stock facility, or we didn't have our own rough stock facility at all. We had to use other people's. So now we have so much more flexibility to get in there and practice. One week this winter we had 4 rough stock practices during the week. And that was unheard of for us. That was more than we would have had all winter when I first got here. So that gives us a huge advantage. I'm glad the school has, stepped out and got that facility for us, and we've made a lot of improvements, raised a lot of money to do those improvements. And I think, that's not something you're going to just see the results this year. That's going to be every year should be getting better and better.
Well, how else have you seen just the program grow? I know it's been a transition over these last handful of years with it being absorbed into athletics and you sort of taking the reins. But over the last 4, 5, 6 years, how else have you seen the program grow? How else have you guys tried to push it forward?
Boy, it's just, getting our own facility opened a lot of doors. And then the support is just unbelievable how much it's grown. Like the Shoot Boss Club now, I think when I got here, I don't think it had 100 members. And now like, they have over 200 members. That's people that are putting their hard earned money directly into the program to support us. You know, I think us having success in the arena has helped a lot. I honestly think leading the football team out has helped a lot. Like that gets the rodeo team out on the big stage several weekends a year. So everybody sees us and they feel connected to the rodeo team because of that run out. So, that makes us a part of campus, and it also gets a lot of, people that are like, yeah, I love the rodeo team because of that, so that really helps. And it's just been unbelievable how much it's grown since I've gotten here. And I don't take any credit for that. I just, I think it's our environment and the program that we have. And it's just a lot of fun to be that supported.
Well, it's so cool to see just the way that Montana State athletics has risen the level across the board, right? So, I mean, how much do you think about that, just sort of being able to be intertwined with all the successes that are going on? I mean, Bobcat football plays a home 10 times a year now because they host throughout the playoffs. So that's extra exposure for your team. What's it been like to sort of being part of that environment?
Yeah, it's a great place to be right now. The whole environment, the athletic department, Leon does a great job leading the athletic department. And winners run with winners. And when you see one group winning, it inspires you to start, doing your best and winning too. And it's great to be part of that culture. I think the whole athletic department is benefiting. One team's doing great, and then the next team's trying to keep up and do better. So it's a fun place to be.
Montana State Spring Rodeo coming up starting on April 9th at Brick Breeden Fieldhouse. So tell us about just the field of competition. I know you'll have double-digit teams there, and I'm expecting to be some good stock too. So just tell me about what you expect from both the competitors and the animals in the Spring Rodeo.
Oh, it's going to be a great rodeo. We got some really tough athletes in the region this year. Not just Bobcats. There's a lot of other schools in the region that are tough. We have a really good region. You'll see a lot of contestants that do good at the CNFR, that have done good at the Montana circuit in the pro rodeo. And then stock wise, we're going to have, if you come to the Saturday night perf, you're probably going to see some of the best stock at a college rodeo. I know they're pinning bulls that night. They're going to have a bull that went to the NFR last year. There's going to be some PBR bulls there Saturday night. But we have, ordinarily they wouldn't maybe bring those caliber of bulls, but this year the caliber of bull riders in the region is so much better that they thought they could do that. We're going to, Virgil is the horse of the year from C5. He's one of only, I think, 4 horses in history that's been the horse of the year in the bareback riding and the saddle bronc riding in the PRCA. They retired him last year. They're gonna bring him to our rodeo, and we're gonna honor him before the Friday night perf. I think that's gonna be pretty cool. And this crowd here, there'll be some people that already know him, but by the end of our opening, they're all gonna know Virgil, and that's kind of like having Michael Jordan come to one of your games. It's going to be cool to see him in person, and I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, that's certainly exciting, no doubt. I got to ask you about Cole Denton because a cool honor for him earlier, I guess maybe or late last week when he was named one of the finalists for the Little Sullivan Award in Montana, and a cool deal for him to be propped up against some of the top amateur athletes in the state. I know he's had a great last couple of years for you, kid out of Great Falls. So how have you seen him grow, and what do you think makes him deserving of being one of the nominees for the Little Sullivan Award?
Boy, Cole has been, he was probably the very first kid when I took the job that sent me a recruiting video, and I was impressed by his video. And, Cole's had to go through some growing as he came here, but nobody works harder than Cole in the practice arena. And he's, since I looked it up, since 1995 was the last time we had a national champion here, and he's one of only 3 reserve champions since then in those 30 years for the men's team here. So, Cole's done as good as anybody here in a long time. And, he's going to keep it up. He's a great athlete and he works so hard. He's winning the all around in the region right now. It's been really fun to watch him grow because when he first came, he had the talent, but like I said before, the mental aspect is a lot of it, and he's learned how to get that under control and learn how to win. And it's been a lot of fun watching that. And, we've got Cole Detton and Jaden Whitman on our team, both seniors. Jaden almost won the Montana circuit this year. He just barely got beat by Ty Erickson. So those two they've been huge all 4 years here. They're great contestants, and Honestly, there's been a lot of good Bulldoggers come through Montana State, but those two guys are going to be two of the, they're going to be top 10 all time Bobcat Bulldoggers. And it's been really fun to coach them and watch them grow. And I'm really excited about how they're going to finish out.
When you are competing against a guy with like the name like Ty Erickson, I mean, how much confidence do you think it gives those guys knowing like, hey, we actually can hang with? I mean, that guy's one of the best in the world. So I mean, how much
Yeah.
confidence do you think it gives them?
Yeah. That gives them a lot of confidence. Cole and Jaden they've both done good at big pro rodeos. They both made the Montana Circuit finals. Jaden's made it 3 or 4 times now, and Cole's made it twice. So that's really good for guys that age. Their past, when you're dealing with college rodeo, there's a lot of kids that have never competed against that kind of competition, and we have guys that have been traveling with them and competing with the best already. So they know how they stack up, and they know what it takes to win.
And on the women's side, give us some storylines or athletes to watch because you guys have always been so good on the women's side, and I mean national champions multiple times over. So who's leading the way so far right now for the women?
Well, Faith Marshall, she had a phenomenal fall. She's winning the all around. She's leading the goat tying in the region. And she's another one. Like she was the reserve national champion in high school and obviously had a ton of talent coming in, but it took her a little while to get adjusted to the college rodeo scene. She came on real strong last spring and qualified for the CNFR. And now she's kind of used that as a stepping stone. Like she knows she can win and she stepped it up and she's a phenomenal athlete. She's really tough and I'm excited about her. I think she's going to finish the spring off well. We have a lot of. I looked at the standings. Our barrel racers aren't showing up very good right now, but we've only had four rodeos. We aren't even to the halfway point, and we have a lot of really gifted barrel racers with really great horses. Annalise McCurry won the region last year. She did really good here at the field house last year, so she's going to be one to watch. We have Piper Cortez, who's the national high school champion. She had a little bit of, she almost made the college finals last year. I would see her, kicking the door down and winning a lot here this spring. And breakaway wise, we've been dominating the breakaway rope and we've got a lot of really good breakaway ropers. And, Rachel Ward is winning the region right now. She's from Phillipsburg, Montana. She's done good her first 2 years and now she's stepped up. It's fun to watch those kids progress as they go through their college career. We have Haven Wolstein, who was on the team. She was a freshman when I very first started the job here, and now she's a grad student in her 5th year. She's gotten to be a really tough competitor. I'm drawing a blank on. I'm leaving a few off, but we have a lot. Like Haley Berger, I know a lot of people in Montana know Haley because she did really good in high school. Last year she tore her knee up, so it took a while for her to come back. She just started back in the spring last year, which was really early for her, and she's healthy now, and she's going to have a really good spring too.
Montana State Spring Rodeo right around the corner. April 9th is when it begins, all the way through April 12th at Brick Breeden Fieldhouse. We'll post on social media and in the metadata here of this video of all the different ways you can get tickets. But when it comes to just the Big Sky region in general, usually if you win that region, you're going to be a heavy contender when it comes to the national finals rodeo. And as you mentioned, you're almost to the midpoint. So just sort of getting this launched and springing into the spring season, how much can this help you guys and how important is it for you guys to continue to dominate that Big Sky region?
Well, every rodeo is important, but obviously after you've had a 6-month break and you're starting out in your home arena, you want to get out of the gates quick. And I've had years since I've coached here. We've had a few years where we had some bad things happen here, but for the most part, we focus on this rodeo and getting it kicked off and showing the crowd what we got. This is a really important rodeo because it's not just one rodeo. It counts as 2 rodeos for us. Friday night is a short go of the first one, and then Sunday is a short round of our second rodeo. So there's a lot of points. 20% of our season is decided next week at our rodeo. So it's really important to bring your A game, to be on, and then plus you get momentum from doing good at this rodeo. That usually carries into the next following rodeos. Another aspect is in the fall, all of our rodeos are outside, and then in the spring, they're all inside except for when we finish up in Missoula. So it's a little, some horses compete better in the indoor arenas. Some kids compete better in the indoor arenas. So that's the factor, and we'll see how it plays out. But I'm really excited about it, and I know the team's looking forward to it, and we've been gearing for this rodeo all winter.
Well, it certainly should be a fun weekend, and we appreciate you helping us preview this. We'll have some interviews with some athletes leading up as well. But again, the Montana State Spring Rodeo starts April 9th at Brick Breeden Fieldhouse, runs all the way through the weekend through April 12th. And as Coach Whitaker said, 2 different rodeos actually that are going on here, so a whole bunch of performances for you to watch. Kyle, thanks for being here, man. Good to talk to you, good to see you, and good luck next week.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you doing this.
There you go, Montana State Spring Rodeo. We were in and out there early on, but here we are now rolling live from Cache One Pond, the premier pawn shop in western Montana. Appreciate these guys for setting us up. Tons to get to throughout the rest of the show. As you heard there, rodeo season underway here in the state of Montana. So the Montana State Spring Rodeo is April 9th through the 12th, and then the Grizz Spring Rodeo is, I think, May 1st. So we'll have some Grizz Spring Rodeo coverage coming up here in a couple weeks as well, and plenty of spring football coming your way too. We will talk a little spring football here today. I was thinking linebackers earlier today because there's a new show out called the Mondak Show. Sam Herder, our great friend from Hero Sports, he's been hosting that one. And it's just about football in Montana and the Dakotas at the FCS level. So Montana, Montana State, North Dakota, South Dakota State, South Dakota. NDSU was obviously included in that until NDSU moved on and moved up. But they've been doing fun little exercises like draft the best player at each position from those 5 schools and like make an FCS All-Star team, basically. They've just been going back and forth. Sam and his co-host Brad. And so I was thinking about linebackers because they were doing the defense today. Like who were the best guys to draft for a defense made up of the best defensive players from those 5 schools. So you got to think about some linebackers. We'll talk about that in hour number 2. We also have plenty about each and every one of the Final Four teams as well. I find it interesting that you have a team like Arizona, who's littered with freshmen, Illinois, who has several really standout freshmen, UConn, who's in the Final Four because of a freshman, but also has some veteran leadership, and then Michigan, who by and large is older. And the roster makeup is interesting to how these teams have all gotten here. I think that people would consider at least Michigan, Arizona, and UConn to be blue bloods. Is Illinois? It's interesting that maybe you think maybe not, but what would a even championship game appearance, let alone a championship, do for the Illini? They're the ones with the longest drought. But this is sort of a revival, certainly for Arizona. Arizona's been good but not great over the last 25 years when they were so great from the mid-'80s through the early 2000s. So can they recapture it? You know, it's been a little while. Since 2001, since Arizona's been in the Final Four. That's pretty stunning when you actually think about all the great players that they've had come through there. Michigan also, they've been in the Final Four 9 times. They've not won a national championship, though, since 1989. So even though there is blue bloods here, UConn's the only one that's the real contemporary power. So we'll get into some of the history of all of that, as well as what are the things that give each of those 4 teams a chance to win the national championship? What are something that holds each of those 4 teams back from winning the national championship? That's all coming up in the second hour. We also have our latest Treasure State Stars highlighting some of the best early spring performances here throughout the state of Montana. Softball season at the collegiate level is underway. Outdoor track and field season at the collegiate level is also underway. A couple recent recruiting tidbits to extrapolate on as well. And also baseball season underway. There's a couple baseball storylines that certainly are worth following. That's coming up about 4:45. We're also going to go through some state champions. Also, Bobby Kennedy's contract is out. So what do we think of that? Certainly, it pales in comparison to Brent Vigen's contract. Is that fair or unfair? We'll break that down a little bit for you. And we'll keep on talking high school sports as now we transition from winter sports into the spring season. So there you go. That's what's coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Again, we need you to text us. We have like 500 entries in our ESPN Bracket Challenge. Grand prize, $500 gift card to Jewelry Design Center. We also have other great prizes from Tag Larry Deli, the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill, DraftWorks Brewing, Dewtown Sports Cards, DBAT. We have a whole bunch of sweet prizes for you. But we don't know who you are in our bracket challenge. We host this through ESPN National. You guys make up a funny name that's an anonymous name for your team, your bracket in this group. Some of you, it's pretty obvious who you are, what your name is. It's close to your actual name, or I just know your nickname or whatever. But others, like Dutch Grizz 81, you're in first place right now. You and Seth W, you guys are tied for first place in our Nuanez Now bracket. I don't know who you guys are. If I click on your name, all it does is give me Seth W. It doesn't give me your actual contact information. So if you're in the mix here, we need you to text us and tell us who you are. If you're any of these people that are on the front page, let's say, they display the top 25 on the front page. If you're on that front page, text us 406-888-1029, 888-1029, because we don't know who you are unless you tell us, hey, I'm Dutch Grizz 81, here's my actual name. Then we'll have your phone number. And again, this is not guaranteeing you winning. We still have 2 more rounds of games. We got the Final Four on Saturday and the National Championship game on Monday. But I'm just I'm trying to get ahead of it here because certainly all of you guys are going to be deserving winners if you do, in fact, win. We just want to have a head start on chasing you down. Let's dive into a Prep Extra. Presented by Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank, enriching the lives of Montanans since 1907. Winter Sports in the books. Winter Sports has the fewest offerings of the actual individual sports that occur. Here are your state champions from the winter sports season. Class AA girls swimming went to the Billings West Golden Bears, so that they've had a good year so far across the landscape of high school sports, particularly in the girls' side. The boys AA championship went to the Bozeman Hawks. Billings Central kept on cleaning up in girls AB. They won their 7th straight state title in girls AB swimming, and the Central boys also won the AB state title. That's their 6th straight. So Dynasty's rule supreme certainly in swimming. It was also the 3rd in a row for the Bozeman boys, the 1st ever for the Billings West girls. The wrestling championships, again, Dynasty's the name of the game. The Billings Senior Bronx girls won their 4th straight. That's the only 4 that have ever been for girls wrestling in the state of Montana. The Billings West Golden Bears on the boys' side, they won for the 4th time in a row as well. This was, I do not profess to be any sort of wrestling aficionado or expert, but just based on the actual just wins and losses and accomplishments, it's got to be the greatest wrestling season in the history of at least AA. Billings West set a AA meet record in overall points. They won for the 4th year in a row. They did not lose a single meet all year long. They went to big tournaments all over the entire region, not just in the state, and they swept all of them. 16-0 in duels. They went undefeated in tournaments, and they also had Mikhail Aguayo win his 4th straight individual title. That's the 3rd year in a row they've had a 4-time champion. There's been less than 50 4-time champions in Montana high school wrestling history, but Billings West has had 1 each of the last 3 seasons. The other wrestling championships went to Sydney in Class A boys, Fort Benton in Class B girls, Helly Project in Class B boys. That was their 5th straight there. For Huntley, obviously Sydney is one of the most decorated programs in all of the state of Montana, period, any sport. 14 overall titles for the Eagles. Holly Project won their 5th straight in Class B, and then in Class C, Circle won their 2nd straight and their 7th overall at the Class C boys state wrestling tournament. AA girls basketball went to Bozeman Gallatin. That was a repeat, so you can see a trend here. There was a lot of continued domination, a lot of teams that came into the winter sports season with a target on their back, certainly, but the quest to repeat, and many of them did it. Sentinel did it for the first time in boys basketball in 40 years. Havre got back on their dynasty train, 10th title overall. They're 6th in the last 9 years. Pretty darn impressive there for the Blue Ponies. Billings Central won their 4th under Jim Sturgar, and they denied Dillon a chance for a three-peat. So that's one of the one quests for, dynasty affirmation that went awry with Billings Central beating Dillon. Girls basketball, Baker went undefeated. and they won their second title in the last 3 years in Class B. Lodgegrass, they won their 8th title overall. They also went undefeated, and they're the Class B champions for the 3rd time since 2020, 8th time overall. Class C girls hoops, this was the first. Denton, Geyser, Stanford, Geraldine, the 4-town co-op. That's their first as a co-op, and 3 of those 4 teams had never won a state championship of any sort. So that's pretty cool. Only Geraldine had ever been a part of one when they won one before the co-op, way back in the late 1980s. And then finally, Class C boys basketball, Scobie, after getting their hearts broken at the state tournament last year, they won it in basketball, and that extends their dominant run because they also won it in Class C 8-man football. So there you go. That is your list of state champions from the year that was in high school sports. We're going to have a little Big Sky flavor to the show just because of the timeliness of it. Big Sky's boys and girls each made runs to the 3rd place trophy at the Class AA State Basketball Championship. And Avery DeCoy, a huge reason for that on the girls' side. She is a multiple-time All-State selection and is head of the Lady Grizz. So she's coming in studio tomorrow to hang out with us. We'll be back in the Grizzly Disposal studio on Wednesday, and Avery DeCoy's coming by about 4:30, so excited to catch up with her. Also, Eli Kasberg, a recent commitment to Grizz football. He hit a buzzer beater in the 3rd-place game to boost Big Sky over Hellgate for their first trophy since 1997. And Kasberg then followed it up with his commitment to Grizz football. So he and I still coordinated a time. We'll hear from him sooner than later, certainly, as well. There's just some really good kids right now at Big Sky High School and in the city of Missoula in general overall. We mentioned this yesterday, but it's worth mentioning again to round out our Prep Extra here. Zach Murphy, who's been the head coach for Big Sky boys basketball for the last 4 years, he resigned yesterday. He's a young guy. He's got a young family, and I think he just really wanted to spend more time. I know he's got his wife and my wife are at least acquaintances, and they were pregnant at the same time, so he's got small kids like I do. And I can't imagine, it's challenging no matter what, but I can't imagine trying to be on the road all the time with high school hoops. So it's sort of a double-edged sword. You gotta commend Murphy for making the right choice for his family and for himself, but also it's just hard to find good people. I thought he did a really good job. Big Sky's been competitive, made it to state 3 times in 4 years. I thought he really got a lot out of the guys. He's a positive role model, so he'll be a tough one to replace. So we'll certainly keep you in the loop of what's going on there. But that's just sort of a look into your news right now here around the state and specifically in the city of Missoula at the high school level. Make the switch to Farmers State Bank and you instantly become part of something bigger, something different, something more. That's because Farmers State Bank is a community bank. That means local banking, local decision-making, local support for people, businesses, and communities that you care about. Switch to local, switch to Farmers State Bank today. Oh, it's now 102.9 ESPN Radio. Bobby Kennedy's got a new contract. We'll go through it on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. 102.9 ESPN Radio.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the uniquely designed and well-equipped 2024 Buick Encore GX with models starting at $28,895. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to demorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Encores and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
It's easy to see why Montana is the treasure state. At the University of Montana, we look inside. We see an old truth with fresh eyes, that Montana's greatest treasure is its people. So whatever tomorrow brings, we meet it the only way we know how, with a mind for making. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
.com.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center. Money Williams will be entering the transfer portal. I'm Jeff Safford. The junior for the University of Montana men's basketball team has been an All-Big Sky Conference player the last 3 seasons, including earning first-team All-League honors this past year. He averaged 21 points and nearly 5 assists per game and helping the Grizz to a 10-8 mark in conference and 16-15 overall. The native of Oakland, California was named the Big Sky Tournament MVP in March after going bananas against Northern Colorado and Portland State to boost the Grizz into the tournament championship for the 7th time in the last 11 tournaments under head coach Travis DeCure. Williams scored 40 points against Northern Colorado and followed it up with 32 against Portland State. He scored 19 in UM's loss against Idaho in the title game, but still set the single tournament record with 91 points, breaking former Grizz Anthony Johnson's record. Williams was a second-team all-conference pick as a sophomore and looked like he was going to be an all-league candidate as a freshman before suffering a season-ending injury. Earlier this season, Williams became the 38th player to join the Grizzlies' 1,000-point club, the 9th player to reach the plateau under DeCure. With 1,321 points scored across 81 games, he is tied for the 14th most career points in Grizz history.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you live from Cash One Pond. Cash One Pond. Need quick cash, these guys got it for you. They can do easy, quick loans. Just come out here, see them, and they can get you all set up. Cash One Pond, the premier pod shop in Western Montana. You heard there on the Sports Center, Money Williams out. Entering the transfer portal, as I said yesterday on the show. I think on one hand, it's a bummer for the Grizz. I mean, he's one of the leading scorers in the conference. But, on the other hand, I think that, who really expected Money? I mean, this is just the state of affairs in men's basketball right now. But who expected Money Williams to stay more than a year, 2 years? Certainly 3 years is a lot more time than maybe probably everybody thought he would stay at the University of Montana. In contrasting news, this just came out. She just posted this on her personal Instagram page. The reigning Big Sky Conference MVP, Taylor Chirick, is returning to Montana State. This is women's basketball. She is from Billings by way of Roberts. She went to her last 2 years of high school in Roberts. Her post today just said, always a Montana girl. Again, she was the Big Sky Conference MVP as a sophomore. She was also the Defensive Player of the Year in the league for the second year in a row. Averaged almost 18 points, 7.1 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 4.1 steals. She was one of the top steals thefts in the entire country, second only to Hannah Hidalgo of Notre Dame. Chirick is one of, I think, only 7 players ever to be two-time Big Sky Conference Defensive Player of the Year. And, again, she's only a sophomore. She's only played 2 collegiate seasons. So been pretty impressive for her so far. She's been a part of 57 wins and counting at Montana State. So the fact that she's back, that makes Montana State the team to beat next year, certainly. Idaho will have something to say about that, but Idaho had much more senior-laden roster. In fact, Montana State's women had no seniors, whereas Idaho, certainly Hope Hassman's a senior. Barbosa's a senior. I think Dos Santos is a senior. So that's three of, if not their three best players. I believe Kira Gardner's a junior. That certainly makes Montana State the favorite in women's hoops. One more news tidbit for you. We talked about Brianna Williams entering the NCAA transfer portal yesterday, the great player from Billings Skyview, who is now on the move from Maryland. She spent the last 2 years there in Maryland, but she is in the portal, and the Lady Grizz certainly are going after her. I think Montana State probably is as well. Williams, again, from Billings, played on a club team with several of those Montana State gals, including Taylor Chirick. Don't know if that means much of anything. I do know the Lady Grizz will have some good NIL money to be competitive in the space to try to go get her. But another transfer that's from the Montana ranks now that's in the portal is Kennedy Moore. She was a great player at Flathead High School, helped lead the Braves to the Class AA state championship game in Butte. They lost that game to Billings West. But it's a good run. Moore then she was supposed to go to Montana Western, but then she decommitted and decided that she was going to open up her commitment or her recruiting. Thought she might get some Division I offers from in-state. Didn't really, but then got an offer from Wake Forest and went to Wake Forest and played in the ACC. Not a ton, but she played about 12 minutes a game last year. She is in the portal as well, and I can tell you for sure that the Lady Grizz will try to go after her too. So, how crazy would this be is if the criticism for the Lady Grizz is their lack of recruiting period but in-state talent, sort of the deficits they had on their roster, and then the whys of why they didn't have those players on their roster. And then you look at it's because they didn't recruit enough of the quality Montana girls. But if they're to revamp this thing then by getting a couple of those Montana girls, but not out of high school, instead out of the portal, man, that would just be so indicative of the times that we live in currently, right? It just so interesting to think of all of this. There was another one I was going to tell you about, but it's slipping my mind at the moment. But the transfer portal it's funny. It's not even open until April 7th. These are just the implications or the people that are intending to enter the NCAA transfer portal. I don't remember the other one I was going to tell you. At least as of right now, and again, this thing doesn't open until April 7th, but I don't think they would post this unless they had pretty solid commitments from all their roster. But Montana State's Ben posted a graphic that said they are retaining everybody that's intending to come back. Certainly they graduate Jed Miller, first-team all-conference player, Patrick McMahon, a second-team all-conference player from last year's team that sort of overachieved to get second place in the conference. But it sounds like everybody that could come back will come back at Montana State. In terms of where we're at with the Grizz, with who they have on the roster, not on the roster, as of now, I think the main building blocks for Montana need to be Tyler Thompson and Kenyon Owino. Those two guys were both outstanding as freshmen. I think they got good talent. So how do you build around them? Because you're going to have to change the way you play without Money Williams. He's such a ball-dominant guy. Brooklyn Hicks, he entered the portal before Money. You wonder if he's regretting it because he could have had a much more elevated role on this team. We've seen guys that have entered the portal and then come back out and got back to their teams. I just don't know if Travis DeCuire's wired like that. It seems like if you say that you're going to, if you're out, you're out. And all parties moving on, right? The Grizz do have some talented freshmen coming in. They've signed 3. Samaj Carter, Grizz beat Colorado State for him, so he was a Mountain West type of recruit. Jeremy Lake, who's out of Oregon, he was the runner-up for Gatorade Player of the Year last year in the state of Oregon. He's also a guard. Carter's a guard. Jackson Haggins is the third one. if you've been watching Arizona, Braden Burries is one of the top freshmen in the country. He plays in Arizona. Jackson Haggins was one of his high school teammates at Eleanor Roosevelt High School. Won the California State Open Division High School Championship. But again, all three of those guys are guards. When will the Grizz go back to an inside-out type of game? I don't know. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't even know if it's a program philosophy as much as just the reality of the situation in college basketball right now, right? I mean, how many mid-major teams do have dominant post guys? I mean, you've seen the front lines at Illinois, Michigan, and UConn. All the guys that are 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", or taller, they're going to the big leagues, man. They're not hanging around the Big Sky. There was really only one true post guy in the conference this year, and that was Trayvon Minot at Portland State. He was the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year. He's 6'9", sort of surprised that he stayed there. It's just going to be interesting to see because the Grizz need to decide how they want to play. They've played a very unselfish and balanced style of basketball offensively for most of the Travis DeCuire era. They've certainly had some creative scorers, but a lot of those guys had to do it within the flow of the system. Grizz have, I think, 38,000-point scorers, and I think 9 of them have played for Travis DeCuire, including Money Williams. But I don't think you consider any of those guys really ISO type of, ball in your hands, direct in traffic scorers like Money Williams was. He's the most ball-dominant guy they've had, certainly in the DeCuire era, but I would argue that in my whole time following over the last 30-something years. Well, if you don't have a guy that's that ball dominant, it's going to inevitably change the way you play. So do you go get a distributor and then try to go back to your sort of spread style? You got shooters in Thompson and Tyler Isaac. If those two guys, if you can retain them, you're adding 3 talented guards in the high school ranks. You got to go Owino, who's a good athletic, sort of undersized post guy. I don't know where the Grizz turned. This whole Grizz season was colored by the fact that this was supposed to be Money Williams and Tajon Sawyer, but also they were supposed to get a ton of production out of Caden Betts, and he didn't hardly do anything. Most of it's because he was hurt. But, he was a former 4-star recruit. Caden went from the Big Ten, and they couldn't piece it together. Courtney Anderson, guy that transferred from Colorado, Big 12 guy. He's also in a walking boot for all of conference play. They got other guys on the roster that just haven't been able to find a way to contribute. So there is some spots where they can certainly improve, whether it's the players on those teams improving immediately or if they get replaced. Either way, they have some wiggle room. It's just a matter of how do they alter the style that they're going to play, considering they just had a guy that had the ball in his hands, literally, statistically speaking, more than anybody in the entire country. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. Your news of the day, Taylor Chirrut coming back at Montana State. That's on the heels of yesterday, Money Williams leaving Montana. So one of the best players in the state, either side of the rivalry, is out, and one of the best players in the state on either side of the rivalry, who happens to be from Montana, is staying with Taylor Chirrut staying at Montana State. So we'll follow up on that a little bit more as the story progresses. But that's your news brief here on Nuanez Now, live from Cache One Pond. Cache One Pond's got all sorts of sweet stuff right now. They got all their summer stuff. They got a Yeti cooler right in front of me. I got all the kayaks and canoes out on this side. It's a pretty cool display. Spring's here. Summer's right around the corner. Come check out what these guys got. You're going to get up $5 off anything in the store, period, if you follow these guys on Instagram. Obviously, showing them that you're following them on Instagram by coming out here to the pawn shop is a great way to do it. It's the only way to prove it, really. So come out here, see these guys, check out their social media, and if you ever want to shop online, shop cache1pawn.com. That's cash, the number 1, pawn.com. Let's take a break, come back. We'll do our Thursday Stars. Talk some softball, talk some football recruiting. We'll talk some baseball. We'll talk some track and field. Whole bunch of stuff to fill you in on. That's next. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Les Schwab changed the tire game more than 70 years ago. Today, we still believe you should get more from less. Like more hustle, less hassle. More of the best service around, less of the runaround. Because we include America's best tire warranty in every tire we sell. So you get more unbeatable warranty, less charging you extra. It's why we're more than proud to say, you get more from less.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
HHS and this station.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app coming to you live from Cache One Pond. Cache One Pond, the premier pawn shop in western Montana. Great sports fans out here working at the pawn shop. One of our guys, Boyd, he's a big Vikings fan. He's always contrasting me and what I think of the Vikings. Even though I like the Vikings, I'm always down on him. He's not. He's up on him. But he's been talking me into it the last hour or so. Why Kyler Murray is going to lead the Vikings to the promised land. I'm sitting here thinking, man, what's the over-under win total for the Vikings? Like 7.5? Oh, no, he thinks we're going to the playoffs. Thinks we're getting double-digit wins. We'll see. It's an interesting argument, though. Like if you have J.J. McCarthy and Max Brosmer and Carson Wentz, and you still do go 9-8, I mean, I don't think Kyler Murray's very good. He's better than those guys. Here's the juxtaposition for me. I think Kirk Cousins, I've never thought Kirk Cousins was good. I thought the fact that the Vikings were paying Kirk Cousins like they were was part of the thing that was holding the Vikings back. Kirk Cousins and Kyler Murray are not that dissimilar to me. I don't think Kyler Murray is great, but he's a former number 1 overall pick. I take him over J.J. McCarthy. I take him over Max Brosmer. Take him over Carson Wentz. So, I don't know. Maybe Boyd's on to something. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. Let's do a Treasure State Stars. It's softball season for the University of Montana, and softball is coming off a 6-0 weekend after an unbeaten start to their league schedule, and they got a couple league players of the week this last week. Grizz swept Seattle in a 3-game series, and then they swept Portland State in a 3-game series to make their week go 6-0. For their efforts, Grace Lopez, who missed the Seattle series but put up huge offensive numbers against the Vikings, was named the Big Sky Co-Player of the Week. That's non-pitcher. And that's Montana's first since 2024. And then Kara Sweet, she went 3-0 with a 0.82 ERA over 4 appearances, 17 innings, and she became the first Grizz pitcher of the week since 2022. The 6-0 weekend is the longest winning streak for Montana since 2019. Its 3-0 start to league play is their best start since 2021. So certainly the softball team seems like they're improved. When the Grizz created softball, started the program, and then they rose rapidly, they had some really good talent pretty quickly, and then they were pretty good pretty soon. Jamie Pigerton did a really good job of first of all, getting the program off the ground and then getting the program rolling along. They finished towards the bottom of the league standings in year 1, but then they finished 3rd in year 2, and they finished 2nd in year 3, went to the NCAA regionals. But then it's just been sort of tough ever since then. They've been sort of middling. They've had some times where they've made runs at the tournament, at the Big Sky tournament, but they haven't been nearly what they could be, what they should be, or what they once were. But now Steph Ewing's been in place for a couple of years as the head coach, and she seems like that she's got it going in the right direction. Again, you can't make much out of a 6-game winning streak, but when it's your first since 2019, that's progress. When it's your first 3-0 start in league play since 2021, that's progress. Thursday star number 2, Tildy Berarger. I hope I'm saying that right, for Montana State, a sprinter. I want to say Tildy B. And then Montana State thrower Sydney Brewster. They each were Big Sky Conference outdoor track and field athletes of the week after this last weekend in Missoula. The Al Manuel Invite, which is the outdoor version of the Cat Grizz Duel. And Tildy B marked her first individual weekly honor in a Bobcat uniform as part of the women's 4x400 meter relay team with Carolyn Hawks, Peyton Garrison, and Julia Gandolfi. Brewster also then was the shot put. I mean, she's the shot put queen, and she did it again. I think she was 3 times indoor athlete of the week. She did it again this time with her awesome shot put throw. Tildy B crossed the finish line at 57.79 seconds in the 400-meter hurdles. That's top time in the outdoors right now. Then on the Grizz side, the top performance came from Alex Shields. He was a subject on this show years ago when he was a senior at Hellgate High School. He has now sort of rounded into form. He's had some injury troubles, but he broke the Montana school record in the men's shot put. First throw of the day, he uncorked a throw of almost 60 feet, 59 feet, 8.5 inches. Broke the school record by over 4 inches. It's stood since 2019. He is a Missoula Hellgate alum. And then he ended up breaking the school record again on his final throw to beat Easton Hadelberg, who was the Big Sky champion for Montana State during the indoor season. So great job by Alex Shields. Thursday Star is probably presented by Parkside Credit Union. Parkside Credit Union, the best place in western Montana to get a loan, because Parkside Credit Union loves to say yes. Thursday star number 4, Cooper Pelk. He's a Kalispell Glacier senior to be. He is the 4th in-state commitment for the Grizz football team. Pelk is a multiple sport athlete there at Glacier. He is a standout on the football field, obviously. 6'3", 190-pound receiver. He's also good in track and baseball, and plays some basketball as well. So a well-rounded athlete, a Grizz legacy guy, and the latest in-state commit for the University of Montana football team. Thursday star number 5. There's we sort of had this wave of teams that added baseball in year 1 of high school baseball, then another wave, and now we have like a legitimate number of teams that are playing high school baseball in Montana. But now when there's new teams, it's not quite as many. But I saw this because it was just their first game in school history. So I saw this in the Bozeman newspaper. But Bozeman Gallatin, they won their first game in school history in baseball. So good job by them. They took on Butte, the Bulldogs, and there's only one time you play the first game ever. And so to win it, that's a good deal. It's a good job by the Raptors. On the baseball note, on the Bozeman note, Bennett Hostetler. He was a Bozeman Buck for the Allegiant team there. He has been working his way through the ranks. He was a great player in North Dakota State and now he's been in the minor leagues for a couple of years. He will start the year in the AAA on the AAA farm team for the Miami Marlins. So he is one step away from getting in the show. That'd be a pretty cool deal if he was able to. So we'll keep tabs on Bennett Hostetler, especially if he can figure out a way to get into the Major League Baseball. And finally, we mentioned it, but earlier today, Taylor Chiric decided she was going to stay at Montana State. So the Big Sky MVP coming back to the Bobcats. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Spring sports officially here. Soccer, baseball, softball, lacrosse. If you got an athlete in the house, you know it's go time. Before that first whistle blows, make one stop. Bob Ords. They got the new releases hitting the floor right now. Fresh gloves, bats, cleats, soccer balls, training gear, everything your athlete needs to start the season off strong. And the best part, you can see it in one place instead of running all over town. Plus, don't sleep on the winter clearance. This is the last chance for savings. Once it's gone, it's gone. Huge savings, top brands, all under one roof. Shop Bob Ords, Montana's oldest sporting good retailer, and get geared up for the season in the right way. All right, one of the books after coming at you. We'll talk all things Final Four. We'll talk some Grizz football, some Bobcat football as well. That's all next. Keep it right here. 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the exceptionally designed 2024 Buick Envision with models starting at $39,795. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to demorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Envisions and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
Life's about the journey, not the destination, right? Why can't it be about both?
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Money Williams will be entering the transfer portal. I'm Jeff Safford. The junior for the University of Montana men's basketball team has been an All-Big Sky Conference player the last 3 seasons, including earning first-team All-League honors this past year. He averaged 21 points and nearly 5 assists per game and helping the Grizz to a 10-8 mark in conference and 16-15 overall. The native of Oakland, California was named the Big Sky Tournament MVP in March after going bananas against Northern Colorado and Portland State to boost the Grizz into the tournament championship for the 7th time in the last 11 tournaments under head coach Travis DeCure. Williams scored 40 points against Northern Colorado and followed it up with 32 against Portland State. He scored 19 in UM's loss against Idaho in the title game, but still set the single tournament record with 91 points, breaking former Grizz Anthony Johnson's record. Williams was a second-team all-conference pick as a sophomore and looked like he was going to be an all-league candidate as a freshman before suffering a season-ending injury. Earlier this season, Williams became the 38th player to join the Grizzlies' 1,000-point club, the 9th player to reach the plateau under DeCure. With 1,321 points scored across 81 games, he is tied for the 14th most career points in Grizz history.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
So, Montana, welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio back at the Missoula Broadcasting Company, but sitting here live at Cache One Pond. Cache One Pond, the premier pod shop in western Montana. They got all the summer stuff out right now. Also have one of the best selections of firearms anywhere you'll find in western Montana. Come out here, visit their beautiful showroom right off a roller coaster road, right past the Missoula Airport, right short of the Y. Or shop online, cache1pond.com. That's cache, the number 1, pond.com. You're missing the show, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Talked a little rodeo with the MSU Spring Rodeo and the start of the Spring Rodeo season right around the corner. We also talked some high school hoops, talked about all the various state champions for the winter sports season. We also talked about some of the standouts that are coming up on the show later on this week, including future Lady Grizz and Missoula Big Sky senior Avery DeCoit, one of the best basketball players in the state. She'll join us in studio tomorrow. Also talked some Money Williams into the portal, Taylor Chirick staying at Montana State, and we had our latest Treasure State Stars, which is reviewing some of the best individual performances from the week that was from around the state of Montana. All of that on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tons of talk about Cinderella, the death of Cinderella, blue bloods, non-blue bloods, where are we at with the NCAA tournament. You know, I've sort of reconciled myself with the fact that upsets are probably going to be a lot less prevalent moving forward, but you still are going to have the high points and the VCUs of the world. But I think a lot of times when you see some of these quote-unquote mid-major teams that can rise up and beat the Power 4 conference schools, I just don't know how many of those teams are going to be teams that are from universities that offer football. I think a lot of times if you're a Power 4, if you're in the Big Ten or the SEC, you can offer everything. You offer swimming, let alone, you know, football, men's basketball, women's basketball, make revenue off of all of it. I do think that it's really hard for mid-major type universities to offer and prioritize football and have any swimming chance in men's basketball. Like, that's where we're sort of sitting with the Big Sky Conference. I don't know what the Big Sky is going to do in men's basketball to be able to fight their way up to have a chance to be like a High Point or like a VCU. You got to get that sort of seed. And even then, I mean, High Point, you get a 12, but you still have to beat a Big Ten. You got to beat Wisconsin, right? VCU, you get an 11, but you still have to beat North Carolina. Like, is there a scenario in which you see a Big Sky team, first of all, getting a 12 or a 13, and then if 11, 12, even 13, and even if they do, then going and beating a North Carolina or a Tennessee or a Xavier or a a Wisconsin. I don't know, man. I just don't really see it. So I do think that the teams that are going to be the quote-unquote Cinderella stories are going to need to come from high affluency levels like High Point, not have football, not have to put a priority on football, be able to prioritize basketball. But I also have reconciled myself with the fact that I think that this tournament, from the quality of basketball, has been better. I thought the last year was better than the previous 5, and I thought this year is better than last year. Part of the thing that's made men's basketball so inconsistent and sometimes clunky to watch is the overturn in the rosters. There's so many new players on every team. And so those guys don't really start gelling until March. Do they still have chemistry? Do they still have love for each other? Do they still have a common goal? For some teams, the answer is yes, and those are the teams that then go on runs in the tournament. For a lot of teams, the answer is no. So that's a huge challenge for coaches. But now, what do we have? Not as much movement. A ton of players are transferring. Most of those players aren't transferring from some of the top programs. So I think you're seeing the influx and the influence of these teams being more on the same page. They have more flow. They have more continuity. So then, therefore, the games have more fluidity, and it's a better product. The basketball is more fluid. It's more creative. It's better. You can just tell that there's just a lot more harmony on the rosters right now. The other thing that's made this year's tournament particularly awesome to watch has been all the unbelievable freshmen that have really, stolen the show. So many of the best players in the country were freshmen, and there's several great freshmen on these Final Four teams. I mean, for Arizona, I think Arizona is the most complete team in the country. And their best player is Braden Burries. He's a freshman from Eleanor Roosevelt High School in San Bernardino, California. You look at Illinois, their best player, Keaton Wagler, freshman from Shawnee, Kansas, 6'6" combo guard. Michigan and UConn not as freshman heavy, but how did UConn get into this Final Four? Well, a lot of reasons, but Braylon Mullins' shot at the end of that game to beat Duke is one of them, certainly, and he's a freshman as well. So, the great freshmen that have impacted the game this year, and especially this tournament, have been as prolific as ever, right? I mean, who are some of the best players in this tournament throughout? Certainly those guys that we just named, Braden Burries at Arizona and Keaton Wagler at Illinois. But Cam Boozer led Duke to the Elite Eight. I mean, he was an outstanding player. Most people consider him the best player in the country, at least one of. A.J. DeBonsa at BYU, they were one and done. They got sort of shocked by Texas. But, I mean, DeBonsa was the leading scorer in the nation, averaged 26 points per game. Darren Peterson's a guy that's considered a top 10 pick at Kansas. Darius Acuff might be the best player in the country in terms of overall talent. He reminds me of he's like a Derrick Rose and somebody else hybrid. I'll think of it. But, I mean, he's a sweet player at Arkansas. Caleb Williams was a great player, even though North Carolina went one and done. Kingston Fleming's one of the top players in the country at Houston. So there's a ton of great freshmen in this tournament, and that's uplifted it up. What does that mean, though, for the Final Four? First of all, let's go over how each of these 4 teams got here, and then break down what could be the advantages and disadvantages they have moving forward. It's Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. UConn is the winner of the Eastern region. They made short work of Furman in the first round. They destroyed UCLA in the second round. They got by Michigan State in a game that I thought might be an upset bid in the round of 16, and then they got the miracle win over Duke in the Elite Eight to win the regional championship. It's hard to say it's actually a miracle because not only was it a buzzer beater, but it was also a 19-point rally. So it's it's more than just a thrill. This was an unbelievable display of toughness and of stick-to-itiveness to get to the end of that game. To even put yourself in a position to have Braylon Mullins hit that shot, that took so much heart and effort, and it was an unbelievable surge from UConn. It also took a lot of mistakes and a lot of coaching errors and a lot of operational playing errors as well on the part of Duke. John Shire, the Duke head coach, he's under a ton of heat right now. There's a lot of people that are dissatisfied with where Duke has finished the last couple of years. And, how can you blame them? The Elite Eight is not good enough if you're Duke, and that's just the stark reality of where we're at, given the basketball budget, the prestige, the tradition, the NIL money they have there, the coach that they have, all that stuff. But also, if every year you fall short of the Final Four, the basketball, there's so much chance in basketball. You never know when, somebody's going to rise up and beat you. And this is not like the NBA where there's 7-game series. If you get bit, you're done. And look at Arizona. Arizona's had some great teams over the years, and they have gotten bit before the Final Four over and over again for the last 25 years. But anyways, Duke, Shire deserves to have some heat on him for sure, but also they're going to continue to just churn out some of the best rosters in college basketball, so they're always going to be right there. For UConn, though, they are the modern power. They are the program of the 21st century, and I don't even think it's close. They'd never won a national championship until 1999 when Khalid El-Amin and Jake Voskuhl led a Jim Calhoun coach team to the championship. Well, since then, they've won 6. That's the best run that we've seen in the modern era. They've been to the Final Four 8 times. They are the team that's dominated the 21st century. Duke sort of rose to prominence in the early 1990s. UConn was in the early 2000s. UConn was nothing the last time that, well, no, I should say nothing, but they were very on the rise, but not even close to have arrived when, last time Michigan won a national championship, for example, back in 1989, or last time Arizona won a national championship back in 1997. So UConn's the one that's sort of quote-unquote new on the block, but a 25-year sample size is pretty darn good, and have 6 national titles in that span is also pretty darn good. This UConn team, I think, was sort of being slept on. Dan Hurley led the Huskies to back-to-back titles, and then last year they were trying to become the first team since John Wooden's UCLA teams to win 3 in a row. It did not go their way whatsoever. They had a terrible non-conference. They'd already lost as many games as they did the previous season by November of 2024 last year. So they certainly had to turn the page. They made the NCAA tournament, but it wasn't very good. They were an 8 seed. So that three-peat bid sort of went away. But Dan Hurley, for all of his flaws, he is pretty introspective. And he gave an interesting interview to ESPN where he was talking about just how he became miserable last year and it sort of lost his joy in coaching and how that was not where he wanted to be at. He said he had a sit-down talk with Gino Auriemma, and Auriemma reminded him that he needed to find joy in coaching, and especially in the things that had helped him get to that point. Basically told him, think about the things that brought you joy before you ever went on a championship run, before you ever won a championship. Implement those things because that's how you got to the championship level the first time around. So go back to doing that. UConn was sort of slept on, even though they were a 2 seed. I think that they were the 6th picked team to win the national championship amongst all the ESPN Challenge brackets. So is this a surprise? I don't know. Again, they've won 6 national titles in the last 25 years. They won 2 in a row and then didn't win last year. But I do think that they are they're the program, not just the team, the program that has figured out a way to have continuity and chemistry and playing for something bigger than yourself, but also been the team that has been able to navigate this tournament year in and year out better than almost anybody. Alex Caravan has been there for what seems like forever and a day.
he's a 4-year starter, and he's sort of been the face of their program. Reed is a true 7-footer who's going to give teams a lot of problems, but I don't know how much problems he's going to give Illinois and Michigan and Arizona. The 4 teams left have crazy size, so size is not going to be that much of an advantage. Not as much of an advantage as it has been in these first couple rounds of the NCAA tournament. They play Illinois. Illinois is actually favored in that game. 1.5-point favors is what it's opened at on Sportsbet Montana. I was just looking up that the other day. I don't know what to make of Illinois being a favorite. I wonder if that's just a line that's indicated from what maybe the public is, what the public is leaning towards early on here, or what the book thinks the public is going to lean towards. Maybe they set it if Illinois is a favorite and they expect the money to pour in on UConn and even that thing out. I don't know. This Illinois team is probably the most surprising of the 4 teams that's here. They were good. They're a 3 seed. But I don't know if anybody thought that they would be here given the path that they needed to navigate to get to the NCAA tournament. Illinois started off by blasting Penn 105-70. Then they destroyed VCU 76-55. The signature win of the tournament that got them to this point was a 65-55 win over Houston. It was a total rock fight in that game, but they were able to outlast one of the best defensive teams in the country. They also got some help when Iowa beat Florida in the second round. So then they got a chance to play Iowa in the Elite Eight, and that helped them win 71-59. So that UConn-Duke game is the first of 2 games on Saturday. Tips at 4:09. And I think that's the side of the bracket that maybe went a little bit more unpredictably than maybe people thought. On the right side of the bracket, Arizona versus Michigan is your Final Four matchup, and I think that was probably the most popular and consensus choice for each of those 2 regions. I think Arizona is the best and most complete team in the country. I think it's been a really interesting transition to watch because they were sort of haunted by the ghost of Lute Olson for a really long time. And they've had multiple coaches sort of come and go since Olson. Olson retired in 2007, and they had Sean Miller, and he always had great NBA caliber talent, but could never really get them over the top. Then they've had Tommy Lloyd, who was the right-hand man to Mark Few at Gonzaga for years, and Lloyd's done a great job. But I was a little bit surprised when I heard that this was the first Final Four for Arizona since 2001. They certainly had some really good teams that had their seasons sort of abruptly ended. Miller did make the Elite Eight 3 times, but they always just seemed to leave something to be desired. They were always a team that you'd think maybe could possibly contend, and then when they duck out in the second round or the Sweet 16, you wouldn't be that surprised by it. And I think Sean Miller is a fine coach. I think he gets players in his own way, and a lot of people would say that's in a sneaky, slimy, and he's been in trouble before for sure. But I just think that Tommy Lloyd's a much better fit. Like, if you're trying to channel what made Arizona so great under Lute Olson, and that's what the fan base has reverence for, I think that Tommy Lloyd is a lot more similar than maybe what Sean Miller was. The final tale of the tape, I mentioned 3 Elite Eights, 2 more Sweet 16s, but then the losses in the first round 3 times, and then missed the NCAA tournament 3 years in a row down the stretch. That's what ended Sean Miller's time at Arizona. But Lloyd has got it back on track in a big way pretty darn quick. You wonder, it's funny because there's a joke here you could say just about, Mark Few never been able to get it done. But Lloyd took over and won the Pac-12 in year 1 and, won it again in year 3, went to the Sweet 16 each of those 2 years, made it to the Sweet 16 3 times in his first 4 years, and now here he is in the Final Four. So it's been a little while for Arizona. Arizona certainly has been really good again over the last 25 years. But the heyday of Arizona was in the heyday of Lute Olson. Late 1980s through the early 2000s. That's when they made all four of their Final Fours. Was, I think, 1988 between 1988 and 2001. This is their fifth Final Four, but their first one under somebody besides Lute Olson. So I think that really does bode well and is a great testament to Tommy Lloyd and his ability to get it rolling for Arizona. Obviously, the combination of great talent that they've been able to compile there as well. I mean, not only is Braden Burries a freshman, Koa Pete is a freshman as well. I think they got 4 freshmen in their top 6 at Arizona. Then, of course, they have sort of the glue guy in Jaden Bradley. I just think that they have some of the best depth, some of the most talent, like just in terms of they can really play 8 guys that are really good. And I think that certainly gives them a fighting chance. And also, I think the fact that Tommy Lloyd knows what it's all about, and I think he's just got a team that's when you think of team basketball, you watch Arizona, they're the ones that are playing the best team basketball. It's too bad we couldn't reseed this thing, though, because I think that it would be an awesome matchup to watch on Monday night if it could be Arizona versus Michigan. Alas, it won't be. It'd be the winner of that game versus the winner of UConn and Illinois. But Michigan comes in with a head of steam. Jalen Rose was going off about this on one of the pre- or post-game shows earlier this tournament. He's obviously a Michigan alum, but he talked about just the spotlight and the expectation of Michigan basketball and how they always are expected to be a Final Four teamer or a national championship contender, even if that's maybe not as realistic at Michigan because of all the stuff they pour into football. That said, Michigan's got all the resources in the world, and now they got a coach that I think has the direction to do it in Dusty May. He went on the great run with Florida Atlantic a couple of years ago. They got this chance, and he's been very good, and this is definitely his best team, and I mean, some would say the best team in the country. By the way, Arizona got to this Final Four by routing Long Island 92-58. They destroyed Utah State 78-64. Then they won in a track meet against Arkansas 109-88. That was the second most points scored in an NCAA tournament game ever. The most points scored in an NCAA tournament game is 116 by who? Arizona, 50 years ago, exactly 50 years ago, way back in 1976. And then Arizona didn't have any trouble dispatching of Purdue in the Elite Eight. So that's how they got to this point. That's what helped them win the West region. Michigan, they weren't playing with their food in the first round either. They destroyed Howard 101-80. Then they really turned it on. St. Louis was hanging tough a little bit early on against Michigan, but then they absolutely blasted them in the second half and cruised to a 95-72 win. Alabama didn't offer much resistance. Michigan won 90-77, and then Michigan absolutely destroyed Tennessee 95-62. So for those keeping track at home, Michigan's got 101, 95, 90, and 95 in their 4 tournament games. You know, if Arizona's the deepest team with some of the best freshmen, and UConn is the team with the greatest acumen on what it takes to win in a tournament, and has program guys like Carabin and Reed leading the way, and they got a coach like Hurley getting there. If Illinois is the upstart underdog with the hungry former JC coach and Brad Underwood with another great freshman in Keaton Wagler, then Michigan is Goliath. Michigan is the team that has all the size, all the intimidation, all the experience, and I think I hope it lives up to the billing. I just think it has a chance to be an all-time great tournament game between Arizona and Michigan. The book has it as Michigan 2.5, but I think that's just dead money, man. I think it's even money. It's crazy how evenly matched these teams are, even if they have different advantages, different strengths. Michigan's biggest advantage is how big they are. I mean, it's as simple as that. But Arizona can get up and down because they have such great guard play. They're great athleticism, great in transition. You saw the only time that you really saw Michigan struggle was when St. Louis went small and when Alabama went small. Again, they still ran away with those games. I mean, they beat St. Louis by 23 and they beat Alabama by 13. So struggle is probably the wrong word. But the only time that the thing that Michigan does is they run at you with Yaxel Lindenberg, who is, a 6'9", 250-pound point forward. He can handle it. He can run the offense, but he can also play on the high post. And then you pair him with Ade Mara, who's 7'3". That's a pretty formidable 1-2 punch. Then you splice in all the great swingmen and wings that they have on their team. And Michigan is a formidable opponent. I mean, Merez Johnson goes 6'9", 250 as well. Elliot Kadu, the point guard, I mean, he's not small. He's 6'2". So, I mean, they have a whole bunch of great talent. Trent McKinney's their stud freshman. He's been great for him so far this year as well. I think that has a chance to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. If I think there's a game like this where I think it's even money, and I think that one team's advantage is the other team's disadvantage, and vice versa, I just like to maybe lean towards the underdogs. That's going to be your best value. It's a coin flip anyways. Why not? Arizona plus 120 on the money line. That's what I'm taking. On the other side, still trying to decide between UConn and Illinois. I actually think UConn might be favored by the time that line closes, but Illinois opened up as a 1.5-point favorite. But I think that shows you, that's the final point I'll make here. Gambling aside, the fact that you got 2-point spreads on each of these games shows you exactly how close these teams are, which shows you exactly how good these teams are. I think that's a great thing for college basketball. Even though we might be longing for more upsets and want the Cinderella to be more prevalent, it's still pretty cool to have these programs where they're at, especially with like the potential to snap long droughts when it comes to national championships if you're Michigan, Arizona, or Illinois, or the chance to continue to, be the little train that could, but the team that continues to figure out a way to win this tournament if you're UConn. I just think it's going to be a great evening of basketball. 4:09 for the first game between Illinois and UConn, and then 6:49 for the second game between Michigan and Arizona. Should be fun times. We'll talk all things spring football. Bobby Kennedy's got a new contract. Some of the best linebackers reside in this state for both the Grizz and the Cats. I'll break down those positions, those storylines next. Live from Cash One Pond, Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers, because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test, so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on, because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
The rare moments in life, they're not just few and far between. They're meant to be treasured.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair, restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Money Williams will be entering the transfer portal. I'm Jeff Safford. The junior for the University of Montana men's basketball team has been an All-Big Sky Conference player the last 3 seasons, including earning first-team All-League honors this past year. He averaged 21 points and nearly 5 assists per game and helping the Grizz to a 10-8 mark in conference and 16-15 overall. The native of Oakland, California was named the Big Sky Tournament MVP in March after going bananas against Northern Colorado and Portland State to boost the Grizz into the tournament championship for the 7th time in the last 11 tournaments under head coach Travis DeCure. Williams scored 40 points against Northern Colorado and followed it up with 32 against Portland State. He scored 19 in UM's loss against Idaho in the title game, but still set the single tournament record with 91 points, breaking former Grizz Anthony Johnson's record. Williams was a second-team all-conference pick as a sophomore and looked like he was going to be an all-league candidate as a freshman before suffering a season-ending injury. Earlier this season, Williams became the 38th player to join the Grizzlies' 1,000-point club, the 9th player to reach the plateau under DeCure. With 1,321 points scored across 81 games, he is tied for the 14th most career points in Grizz history.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. We're sitting live at Cashwood Pond. But we appreciate our friends at Grizzly Disposal. They're locally owned, veteran-owned. You want to make the switch to locally owned and veteran-owned waste management today. Call 541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal. The only Bears that should be in your garbage. Thursday marks Pro Day at Montana State, and then Friday marks Pro Day for the Grizz. We'll have coverage out of both of those for you. The Bobcat Pro Day features just 4.5. Paul Brott is doing the bench press. He was an All-American defensive tackle. Talked to him the other week, and he's already on his weight loss journey. So he's already getting skinny like he said he was going to. He said on this show that he went from 220 pounds in high school to 310 pounds in college. And he said the day that his football career was over, whenever that might come, he was going to start shedding them. So it sounds like that's been the case. He will do the bench press, though. Sounds like a D tackle that just wants to show off, right? He just wants to prove to everybody how many times he can do it, even if he doesn't have pro aspirations. The other 4 guys that are doing it, though, Ryan King, Chris Long, a couple of receivers who were FBS transfers into Montana State. King came from Georgia Tech, and Chris Long came from Rutgers. Both those guys were starters, but they didn't have crazy production or anything, but I think they'll probably both run well. Julius Davis, who was a 2,000-yard rusher for the Cats, will also participate for a Wisconsin transfer. And then Elijah Elliott, who is he was a Bobcat for 3 years, had some good games. Actually, he had like 160 yards and a touchdown against the Grizz one year. But he sort of got buried behind all the other athletes there in the running back room at Montana State. So he transferred to Bryant for his senior year, but still has obviously connections and friends in Bozeman. So he's the last one that's participating in the Bobcat side of things. I think that is the fact that there's only really 4 guys doing it for the Cats, I think is sort of indicative of where they're at as a program. I know they're coming off a national championship. It shows you how much they've been able to stack the ranks of the younger guys within their team, and now they have not had – the Grizz have been super senior heavy for 3 years in a row. 2023, that was organic. Most of those guys have been in the program 3, 4, 5, even 6 years. 24 and 25, they were super senior heavy because they brought in a dozen-plus senior transfers each year. The Cats were senior heavy 2 years ago when they were the national runner-up. Those guys all graduated. They didn't stack the ranks with a bunch of transfers. Instead, they just sort of went with what they had, and here we are. And, so they only have 5 of their 9 seniors from last year participating in the Pro Day. The Grizz, the Pro Day is on Friday, and I'm already starting to worry about how long this is going to take. I know it makes me sound like an old man, but 18 participants. I never covered a Pro Day with more than 10. Pro Days with 10 guys take 4 hours. So, Pro Days with 18 guys, wow. It's going to be interesting. Now, that said, a couple of these guys, Ty Morrison is a punter and a kicker. Is he going to do all the bench press and the agility and all that? I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Grayson Pibble, the long snapper, I'm sure he'll probably bench, but, is he going to run a 40? I don't know. Maybe he will. It's just interesting because, every guy does all the tests. You do the vertical, you do the broad jump, you do, the bench press, you do all these various warming up, then you do outside, do all the agility tests around the 40, you do the cone drill, the L drill, the shuttle drill, all that stuff. Everybody gets to go and do it twice, and then there's sometimes you have a false start, so you get to redo the rep. It just gets to be a ton, right? It just gets to be a lot. So interesting that the names that are on this list, though. So here is the full list of names outside of the 2 specialists, Ty Morrison, the kicker, and Grayson Pibble, the long snapper. You also got Liam Brown, who's an all-conference offensive lineman as a senior last year for the Grizz. Kellen Dietrich, who was an emergent player as a senior last year at defensive end. He had been basically a non-factor. Well, not basically. He had been a non-factor his entire Grizz career. They had a good senior year. Prince Ford was a former transfer from Illinois. He had some up and downs last year, but he is participating. Cannon Pamphilov was a first-team all-conference offensive lineman. Brown, Pamphilov are 2 guys I'm interested in watching. Brown, Pamphilov, and Michael Wortham are the 3 guys I want to see what they can really do. Those guys might have a chance. And I'm not saying these other guys don't have a chance. Maybe they'll blow the doors off this thing and get themselves a chance. But I'm just saying, guys that actually have real deal NFL prospect status right now, in order, it's Wortham, it's Brown, and then it's Pamphilov. Other participants include Hunter Peck. He'll probably put up some good weight room numbers. He had a first-team all-conference senior year last year after transferring over from Carroll. Stevie Rocker, former transfer from Arizona, running back. Evan Schaefer, I wonder if Schaefer will run. Because Schaefer, he busted his knee against Montana State in the Super Bowl in the semifinals of the playoffs. Is that knee all the way back healthy? I never got a diagnosis on that. It looked like he tore it, but I don't know. We never got finalization because it was the second half of the last game of his career and they lost, and that was it. So we just didn't really get any clarification on that. So maybe he's back healthy. I'll tell you this, Schaefer's going to put on a show when it comes to the bench press. He's been the strongest guy on the Grizz for several years now, so that'll be fun to watch. Elijah Tolbert is participating for a linebacker as well. And then you have several guys that are former Grizz that'll be in this thing. Aaron Fonts, Cole Grossman, and Vi Cajo. Fonts, I think he just wants another shot at this, right? He broke his foot last year. He had something. I don't quote me on that. Actually, he had some sort of foot or ankle or something, lower body extremity injury that really caused him to struggle. He ran like a 4.79, and you're sitting here thinking, this guy's been the fastest guy on the Grizz the whole time. There was a true, real argument: who's faster, Junior Bergen or Aaron Fonts, for a moment in time for the Grizz. And so then when Fonts ran 4.79 on his pro day, you're sitting there thinking, what's going on? Then it comes out that he's hurt, so that made more sense. Cajo, he didn't really do a pro day after his senior year 2 years ago, so that's interesting. And then Grossman, it's been a couple years since he's gotten a chance to get in the action, but he certainly had quite a few trials and tribulations during his career for the Grizz as well. So those are the 15 former Grizz that are doing it. Then you also have Carson Ochoa from Carroll College, Brent Tomasini from Carroll College. Ochoa, by the way, is a tight end. Tomasini is a linebacker. And Michael Pallandry of Montana Western, who is a quarterback. This all gets started at Montana, 8 a.m., but the public part of it is not. It's not open. None of this is open to the general public, just to the media. But we'll have results for you out of Montana State's Pro Day Thursday and Montana's on Friday. Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app, coming to you live from Cache One Pond. Cache One Pond is the premier firearm selection in the western part of the state of Montana. Come check it out. They always have something on sale. They always have a good deal going. If you're in the market for a firearm, come visit the showroom here on Roller Coaster Road or shop online, Cache One Pond. That's Cache, the number one, pond.com. One more break. Come back. Keep on talking football. Don't change it down. Keep it right here on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Access to Montana's great backyard is the best part of being a Grizzly. At the University of Montana, our classrooms are the mountain peaks, river valleys, and never-ending plains of the Big Sky Country. We provide students with the hands-on training to protect and enjoy hunting, conservation, and stewardship. UM launches the careers of outdoor leaders so that they can protect our traditions and ensure they are passed down for future generations. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Why would any business let you use their product and give you 365 days of reassurance? Mattress Firm does because they believe in their mattresses. Save on top brands like Nectar, Tempur-Pedic, Beautyrest, Serta, Stearns & Foster, and others. Mattress Firm carries $149 mattresses all the way up to the luxury Purple Rejuvenate Premier. 0% in payments as low as $39 a month, along with 365 days of reassurance. See why Mattress Firm is Montana's best place to find the sleep you deserve.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Welcome back. 109 ESPN Radio. Colter Nuanez Now coming to you from Cash One Pond, the premier pond shop in western Montana. Teased this earlier, but then we sort of got out of order, so we're just coming back to it. But Montana, MTN, the Montana News Network, they published an article laying out Bobby Kennedy's new salary. So here's what the first-year Grizz head coach is going to make. I think it's interesting just because it's nowhere close to what Brett Vigen's going to make. And on the service level, you say, well, of course not. Brett Vigen's going into year 6, at Montana State. He's, coaching the reigning national champions. He's been in the national championship game 3 times in 5 years. So, it makes sense. Bobby Kennedy's base salary is extremely low, though. Brett Vigen's base salary is $295,000. I thought if Kennedy's came in at, let's say $75,000 less than Vigen, I thought that would be sort of where you'd expect it. I thought Kennedy's would be about $225 to $250, but instead it's $175 for a base salary, which is, that's the lowest that the base salary for a Grizz or Bobcat head coach has been in quite some time. That said, his contract is filled with bonuses, and maybe that's also not surprising given the fact that even though Montana has been just so steadfast that this is not an interim coach, he is on a 1-year contract, so he is coaching for his job. So even if it's not interim in title, it is interim in the reality. Whatever verbiage or, diction that Montana wants to use, this is a 1-year test drive for Bobby Kennedy. But if he does well, he's going to be rewarded, first of all, by being a candidate to be the coach after this year, but also with plenty of incentives. $5,000 if he beats a team that made the FCS playoffs either of the last 2 years. So that's a nice incentive. That's each of those wins. $2,500 for beating a ranked FCS team during the regular season. You get $7,500 bonus for winning 9 games, $10,000 for winning 10, 10 more grand if he wins the Big Sky Championship, $5,000 for being the Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year, $5,000 more to be the National Coach of the Year. That's crazy. That's a low bonus. Hey, if you're the National Coach of the Year, that means you probably just did something pretty dang crazy. Either way, we digress. $5,000 for making the FCS playoffs, $2,500 for advancing past the second round, $4,000 for advancing the quarters, $5,000 for advancing the semis, $10,000 for getting the national championship game, and $50,000 if he wins the national championship. He also has about $47,000 in off-the-field bonuses that he can earn, including a bonus for performance in the classroom, a bonus for academic progress rating, a bonus for graduation rate. He also has a bonus for attendance. If the Grizz average 17,500 fans, this is season tickets sold. 17,500 season tickets, that's a $4,000 bonus. 18,000, $10,000, 18,500, $15,000, 19,000 and above, 15,000 more. So that's a pretty good bonus. He's also going to get $20,000 for any of his appearances at any of the Grizzly Scholarship Association events. So that's golf tournaments, spring tours, anything like that. And then he has undisclosed media bonuses. Maybe that's another place where they're making up a lot of this. Some coaches have as much as up to $60,000 to $80,000 in guaranteed media bonuses. I'm not sure if Kennedy has that or not. But then the way you all round it out, maybe it is a little bit closer to that base, even if it's not just the base salary. Maybe it's the base plus the guarantees. Because, again, some of these are earnable bonuses, but, the Grizz are going to average 18,000 season. They're going to sell, I'm almost certain, 17,000 to 18,000 season tickets is realistic, right? They've sold over 19,000 the last couple of years. I can't see a huge dip in that. The academic stuff, I think it would take a huge diversion for that to not occur. $20,000 for the Jew and the GSA stuff, that's just slam dunk. That's just money in the bank, right? So you take the media bonuses, you take the GSA stuff, that's probably somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 right there. So now you're getting a lot closer to the guarantees that Vigen has. Now, Vigen's $295 base is also not including his media, his, Bobcat Club speaking engagements, et cetera, et cetera. But I saw some stuff online that was saying that they thought this was an inequitable contract. It is a little lower than I thought it was, but also he's in a prove-it year. And if Kennedy outperforms this contract, he can make upwards of $400,000, and also, more importantly, for him at least, he's going to be a leading candidate then to get the job on a long-term basis. And I think that's certainly going to be one of, if not his primary goal. He does have a little bit of language in there as well. If he's terminated without cause, UM will pay the remainder of his salary and benefits offset by any income earned in new employment. Termination for cause stops all pay beyond what was already earned. Kennedy has said that he wants this to be his last job. On his introductory press conference, which is the day he signed this contract. He said, this is going to be our last job, whether it's long. Then he paused. He said, let's make it long, okay? However long it is, let me say that I want this to be my last job. I want to do it with these guys. I want to do it with these players. I want to do it with the great Grizz fans and the people of Montana. So Kennedy, his plan and his aspiration is to be in it for the long haul. And if he outperforms some of the expectation, certainly he'll be in the mix to be the long-term coach for the Grizz. But we'll see. That's something I've just been mulling over, right? There's so much that goes into being the head coach of a football team. Certainly on-field performance is the barometer. It's the number one measure for if you're going to get a long-term contract or if you are the guy moving forward to continue to lead the program. Kennedy's done a really good job in some of the stuff that matters right now between January, February, March, and April, right? He's doing really well in recruiting. He's doing really well in the PR elements of it all. If he engenders himself to the state of Montana, to the Grizzly faithful, to the fan base, and he continues to do those parts of the job well, how much does that go into the holistic evaluation of him as the coach in the future? I'm not sure. And I would love to get, University of Montana athletic director Ken Haslam and some of his administrators have said over and over again the expectation for the Grizz football team broadly is to win a national championship. I agree with that. That's what the expectation needs to be. Is that, though, the expectation for Bobby Kennedy in year one? I don't know. I don't think it can be. So then all the things that go into it, right? Certainly the schedule. Like, I would put the Grizz over-under for wins this next year at 8.5. I think they have 7 games that they should be the favorites in no matter what. I think that then they have a couple maybe coin flip type of games, but I think 2 of those games are at home. And then I think that they have 3 swing games where they're probably going to be underdogs. That's at Oregon State, at UC Davis, at Montana State. If Kennedy can steal any of those and take care of business and all the rest of it, he's got to be the front runner for the job. But if he's, if they don't perform, I mean, if they go out and it's just it's just a disaster, that's going to be something that's going to be really hard to overcome, right? Like, let's say you win all the in-state recruiting battles, you engender the fan base, and you engender all these people to you and all these boosters and all that, and then you go 3-9, it ain't going to happen, right? I just don't know, like, is 7-5, but all the off-the-field stuff, is that good enough? I don't think so. But so I think it's just going to come down to on-the-field results, right? And how do you manufacture those? How do you produce those? That's why it's going to be so fascinating. I said we were going to talk linebackers. We will, but we'll do it tomorrow. We're also going to have Colby Dant from the College Basketball Experience podcast join us. We'll also have Samuel Kem talking around the FCS. We'll also have Avery DeCoit from Missoula Big Sky joining us as well. We're going to roll right into the Seattle Kraken game. Puck drops at 6:30 this evening. Appreciate the guys in the back for getting us on the air. Appreciate Cash One Pond for hosting us. Check these guys out online or swing by the showroom here on Roller Coaster Road. And also appreciate everybody out there for listening. We'll keep on giving you info on the bracket challenge, but text us, give us your names, and we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. This has been 102.9 ESPN Radio. It's Nuanez Now.